Hello, it's Douglas Long and Sonny Navaratnam again. One of the great challenges as a leader is how do you inspire someone whose learned helplessness prevents them from being extraordinary at their work? So Douglas, what do you think is the first step?
Well, I came across a quote recently. It's not a new quote, but it was new to me, and I believe it was by Henry Ford. At least that's what you just told me a few seconds ago, which was, if you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, either way you are right. And one of the problems that we have is this issue of learned helplessness. There are lots and lots of people around who all of their past experience has been with people who have said, you can't do this. And learned helplessness comes because people are in an environment over which they've got no control. They've got to do what the leaders say. So you take a young child and they have to do what mum or dad says. At school they have to do what the teachers say. And over the years, they learn that they've got to operate within some pretty narrow parameters, within some pretty narrow boundaries. And like it or not, those boundaries sometimes become narrower and narrower, and until they really reach the point where they just feel they can't make a contribution, they can't do anything. And when a leader is saying, well, I need to transform this organisation, I need to get peak performance, they look around and they see lots of these people who have perhaps got this learned helplessness, and the first temptation is to say, oh, that's just deadwood, so therefore we've got to prune the deadwood, get rid of these people who aren't performing. And that's the first and second generation leadership approach. The third generation leadership approach is for the leader to say, well, just a minute, let's see if we can understand why they're not performing. And then it's the leader having the courage to do those things that can help transform that person.
Yes. It's an interesting analogy, because in my life as well, years ago, I came into an organization, inherited a team, looked at them and thought, what a lovely bunch of people. And the people, they were described to me as being people who were incapable, useless at their work, needed to, take the sword. I was a young fellow, a little idealistic as well, but I thought, perhaps there's a better way, because they look like good people. So I did take that challenge on. And of course, the greatest challenge as a leader in that process is to have the courage to allow them to fail. And to collect that failings and transform it into a learning and then step forward. It needs patience and it needs courage.
And coupled with that is not being surprised when they succeed.
Oh, yes.
Because that's the other side if they're having the courage. We either say, oh, I haven't got the courage to let them fail, or they actually succeed and I say, oh, well, it was only a fluke, it was chance. And so my mindset is still saying they can't do it.
Yes, it is about altering that mindset, that attitude, that the human beings that you've got that are standing in front of you, if you look at them, most of us are governed by what has happened in our past. And the reality is many of us carry that past into our future because we keep repeating the same patterns. The only thing that's going to change that is if we set a new future in place. And the new future should not have anything to do with the past. It needs an enormous power, but all great leaders saw a future in which the past was not being repeated. Whether it was Nelson Mandela or whether it was Mahatma Gandhi, two good examples of people who saw a completely different future, and who saw, despite, for example, Gandhi was some classic debates that Gandhi had, was with people saying, oh, the Indians cannot rule India. And that was the view of people, not just of the English, but also of the Indians themselves. And they said, we can't do this. And it was the faith and belief of people like Gandhi and Nehru in the people and saying, no, we can. Now, we may not do it really well, but we can. We know that we will get there. And And India is one of the few countries in that whole region. India and Sri Lanka are the two countries that have remained democracies all the way through since the World War, since the end of since independence.
Yep.
And remarkable stuff can happen. So, the first step is to create that belief, to let yourself be strong enough to set aside all the past stories and say, well, let's create a completely new future into which these amazing people that I have around me are going to create amazing things, going to do wonderful things, and going to be very successful. That belief held by a leader will eventuate if you have the courage to hold that. So there's a challenging thought for you, to start by believing in your people. So I look forward to talking to you again soon. We thank you for listening and watching. Thank you.